Happy Independence, Nigerians. It's a very wonderful morning to you all, and welcome to this beautiful segment of Daybreak Africa, where we ask questions to seek individual opinion on a particular subject matter. I am Bidemi Moses, and today I have a very distinguished guest with me in the studio, and is no other person than Dr. Awoshika Tola. Dr. Tola Awoshika, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, today we want to look at the journey of independence so far. And Nigeria is 62 already, how time flies. And I want to ask, do you think Nigeria has achieved the characteristic of independence?
I mean, that question is relative. It comes down to individual opinions. But generally, I would say we're still at very early stages of independence, but we've hit a few landmark achievements as far as the country. The fact that we're able to remain a democratic nation today, and been able to sustain democracy in respective of all the different tribes, religions, and ethnic divides that we have in this country, so it's something to be grateful for. However, could we have achieved more? The answer is yes, but it's all, we recognize that it's a growing and developing process, and the process is still on.
All right, let us look at it from socio-political and economic perspective. A whole lot of people have been saying Nigeria has a whole lot of potential and we can do great things. At 62, we are still prophesying we can do great things. Don't you see Nigeria lacking behind compared to some other countries too?
I mean, no doubt Nigeria is blessed with human resources, natural resources that have limitless potential and needs to be explored sufficiently and maximized. 62 is relatively old in the eyes of some, and some would say it's still a very young democracy, or very young country. Countries in the West, like the US and United Kingdom and so many other countries in the West, are 200, 250-year-old nations, and it's taking time for them to evolve over that period. However, again, I feel we can be doing a lot better, and we're hoping that our next few decades, a few years, we'll be able to make up for the lost time as far as our potentials.
Okay, from your word, you said we are hoping that we can explore this our potential. And now, America, United Kingdom, they have a whole lot of old histories. And now, we as Nigerians, we are still asking questions that we have leaders. We have young and vibrant leaders in the yesteryears, but now we've seen youth running away from taking the mantle of leadership. Let's talk about the Not Too Young to Run Act, which has been passed already. And with that, it should give a whole lot of youth room to lead. But why are youth running away from taking over the leadership mantle of Nigeria?
I think, first of all, we must establish that governance and politics, it's an industry on its own. And it might not be a very attractive industry for young people because of the different fears that are associated with governance and politics. People see it as very dangerous terrain. People see politicians as people who cannot be trusted. So a lot of the young people, because of our entrepreneurial spirit in Nigeria and because of the motivation to want to be better as an individual, people are driven by self-ambition, wanting to achieve in different areas, whether it's entrepreneurship or whether it's a professional life. Most people go into universities to study things that they feel they can progress throughout their career. But the orientation that needs to change is everyone is part of governance, everyone is a part of politics, irrespective of your private sector work or your own career. It's important that you have a society that is well put together for you to be able to thrive. as far as the act is concerned, I don't think Nigeria has ever had a problem with policies or acts or constitution. In fact, one of the complexities that we face as a country today is the fact that we have too many laws, we have too many acts, we have too many things that have been interpreted in different ways, and some are actually countering the other and all that. But I think this act, definitely was introduced at the right time, where the world is changing. A lot of emerging leaders today, there's been a generational shift as far as emerging leaders. You're having leaders that are getting to the peak of politics. Presidents at the age of 35 and 38. These are things that happened many decades ago, even in our country, where you had leaders that were already at top leadership positions, in their early 20s and late 20s. So it's not new. The world is revolving, and things always come around at some point. But I think it's a good step. I think what would happen now is a few people need to break the glass ceiling. Once few young people are able to get involved and prove to the other young people that this industry can be conquered. This industry, you can get involved in it, and you can come in there with white sheets and you can remain white. You can be in there and make a difference. You can come in with a different approach, a different style, and once people see that, people will now begin to get more interested and get more involved.
All right, there's this popular saying that politics is a game of interest. So I want to ask, as a young man, you decided to leave your business empire and venture into politics. May I ask why?
Like I said previously, politics is a way of life for everyone. It involves, everyone needs to be involved in the political space because it affects livelihood, and it affects the ability to make a livelihood. For me, my entrepreneurial and business journey also led me to this conclusion that we all need to get involved in politics because it directly or indirectly affects you. Your policies that are made, the regulators, the corruption, those different things affect your even business potential. So for some of us, the interest is we can go in there, we can, clear the roads for more business growth and more, progress as a country. So, I think it's something that every business person, and I think if you have been able to at least achieve a certain level of success, as far as business is concerned, it's important that you use those skills in nation building, because when you have taken something from A, replicated that concept a few times, it means that you're doing something right. It means that your systems, your processes, your checks and balances are good. This is what government and governance needs in Nigeria. So more business people need to get involved in the space.
All right, so what has been your contribution so far to politics, both in Ondo State and in Nigeria at large?
I think way before me, my family has always been involved one way or the other in the society, in politics, from my grandfather all the way down to my own parents and now me. And so it's been a continuous contribution process for us. And for me personally, I've tried to do that through various means by my foundation. My foundation remains very active in community building and society building. Just try and get involved in different spaces as possible. And even recently, my own attempt to get involved directly in governance. My Senate race was also another aim to try and do more. And we believe the space is there. It's open for more players to come in, and we're definitely not running away from it. They'll definitely see more and more of us.
All right. You made mention of running for the post of a senator.
Yeah.
Okay, so the state of insecurity in this country is alarming, and if eventually you become a senator, what do you think you can do to ensure that we minimize the level at which we have insecurity in the country?
I mean, unfortunately, as legislators, you're very limited as far as how you can directly affect some institutional problems, like the military, the police force. This is a direct responsibility of the executive. Your responsibility is to ensure that they're getting the job done, and you're checking on the process by which they're doing so. So we need to call on the executive or put more pressure on them to ensure that their systems and their ministries, their agencies, the paramilitary, all those agencies are properly equipped to handle security crisis. And your biggest solution to security problems in any country is economic prosperity. I believe when the economy is prosperous enough, or the economy is stable enough, people have more exciting things to do, like waking up in the morning and going to a job, or going to the farm, or going to an industry, or whatever it is. We'll have less idle people on the streets that can be co-opted into doing notorious things like banditry and those sort of things. So once we're able to gain good economic stability and prosperity, it reduce. Again, this is directly linked with the executive, but I'm sure in the upcoming months, Nigerians will be waiting to make the right decision this time more than ever, to ensure that the executive is on top of his toes doing some of those things.
All right. Let me quickly bring in this question. There is this big politician recently, I won't want to mention his name on this site. He made mention of youths not ready to be in governance, take over any big position in the country. Do you think the youths are not ready to be active in politics and also to take the leadership position, like he said?
I think that statement is completely false. I mean, because the youth are in government. The youth are just not the face of government. Majority of the aides, majority of the engine room behind the public service, behind even the civil service, are very hard-working young people that have gone to get an education, they've gone to get a certain level of experience in different fields, and have now decided to join governance indirectly by helping their immediate bosses, or working in groups, in clusters, to produce some of those documents that you see being read in the National Assembly, to produce some of those speeches that are being read by ministers and being read by governors and presidents. So yeah, the youth are there. It's just at this particular point, they're not the face of politics and the face of governance. So that needs to change. We now have to have a new face. We have to have new drivers behind the wheel. And I think we're getting closer to that.
So, and how do you think we can remove the stigma of youth are not ready or ripe to rule?
Once you have a few ready youths that have broken the glass ceiling and are willing and able to welcome more, it would now be a downward spiral for the older generation. It will become new age, and I'm sure that will happen very soon. There are a lot of young people that are holding different party tickets as candidates for the upcoming election. As soon as a lot of those people are able to get in office, I'm sure they'll do a good job with welcoming other people to join, and people will now see that it's possible to happen.
All right, in case you are just joining us, this is a Daybreak interview with Dr. Tola Woshika, and I've been having a series of questions with him, which he has been doing justice to. And before we call it a wrap on this show, what is your advice for the youth concerning politics?
You have a chance now. It's going to be one of the biggest decisions of your life. We have the numbers. We're the majority in the country. We actually should be calling the shots and should be making the decision for our own future. 5 months from now, you're going to be given the opportunity to decide your future. And it's a decision that is very key at this breaking point in the country, where there's so many issues that remain unresolved. Your economy is in complete shambles. You have inflation at 28%. You have depleting foreign reserves. You have exchange rate that continues to climb against the dollar. And so many other factors, insecurity, banditry, not to mention ethnic and religious divides. It's important that we put aside whatever sentiment or emotions you might feel for one candidate or that candidate, and pick the right candidate. You've been given a tool. Your PVC is your tool to make that decision. It's time for the youth to mobilize to make the right decision, because a lot of them that are in their 20s now, 8 years from now, they're going to be in their 30s. People that are in their 30s, 8 years from now, they're going to be in their 40s. And people that are in their 40s are going to be in their 50s. And then you begin to exit the bracket of being a youth. And you now fall into the bracket of people who are regretting that they didn't make the right decision 20 years ago when democracy was formed. They didn't get involved. They didn't answer the right questions. They didn't vote in the right people. They ignored the system, and the system has worked against all of them now, and they all live in regret. We don't want to be that generation of people who want to make the right decision. We want to say we stood for something, and because it was a tough decision, but it was the right one, our children have a bright future.
All right, Nigeria at 62 and Nigeria in the next 10 years. Do you think we are going to the Eldorado that we seek in Nigeria?
Again, Nigeria is 62. For some people, relatively young. So some people, a big waste of time. It's personal perspective. For me, it's about looking forward. 10 years from now, we would be at the end of what could be another 8 two-term potential government that is about to come in. It's important that we make a good decision now, because 8 years is a long time to turn things around. In the last 8 years, things have been turned around, but turned around in a very negative way. So we know what impact 8 years can mean in the life of a country, in the life of people. So we expect that in 10 years from now, if we make the right decisions and plant the right seeds now, we should be singing a different song, and it should be a different story that we'll be telling at that point, and that's what we hope for. But those things cannot happen magically. It can happen by angels. It can only happen if we put the right people in the right places and we make the right decision from now, and we begin to put in the investment to reap the benefits then. So we're hoping, and we're staying on top of it. We're contributing our own quota to ensuring that happens, because it will be a collective failure of all of us as a generation if this is the case in 10 years. I don't want to be part of that story.
That's a very nice one. All of us are looking for a way to stay away from being part of bad story and writing bad history. How do you think we can turn the negative to positive? Don't forget the fact that vote buying is very rampant now in politics, and also there is rigging. And what if people vote for the candidate of their choice, and there is vote buying, there is rigging? Do you think the franchise people are portraying is being stamped upon?
I mean, I think now is a wise time for the younger generation to open their eyes. And now is the time for the figures that we look up to, our music artists, our sports players, our celebrities, our actresses and actors. And now is the time for them to come out and use their voices and let people know that a 10,000 naira or 20,000 naira at the polling unit on election day is not sufficient enough to last you for 8 years. You cannot afford to mortgage your life. You cannot afford to mortgage your future just because of what you're getting on the polling unit. As difficult as it is in our hard economic times, it's very hard to turn down. But I would say people should be wiser, people should be smarter this time. If that means taking politicians' stolen money and voting for who you want to vote for still. If that's your strategy, then maybe that would work. But the point is, you need to be able to make your own decision for your future. And I think this government did a good job by going ahead and signing the new Electoral Act. That has helped at least put some fear and put some limits to what powers can do as far as political power, as far as control, electoral controls and all that has been put in place to reduce some of these inadequacies that we've had in the past. So I believe this election would be a lot better than previous ones. I believe with the issues on ground as well, people are more dedicated and people are more determined to ensure that their vote will count, to ensure that the system is not manipulated. So I think this time will be a better attempt for a free and fair election.
All right. So what is your goodwill message to Nigerians as a whole?
Nigeria is 62. Our country is great. Our country is blessed. We have no other country. Irrespective of what dual nationalities that you might have, you're of the African descent, you're of Nigerian descent. This is your country. It's for you to build. It's for you to make the best out of it. And I would like to wish Nigerians happy Independence Day at 62, and use this opportunity to appeal to them that your wish and your birthday gift for Nigeria should be making the right decisions at the polls in 2023.
All right, thank you so much, sir. And this will be all on today's episode of Daybreak Interview with Dr. Tola Awoshika. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. I am Bidemi Moses, and I will see you some other time. Bye.